Okay, so now let's continue with the articulation. I've already mixed the plaster. In the previous segment, you saw that we articulated the lower half, the mandibular portion. Let that set up for the better part of half an hour. Now we're ready to do the maxillary portion. Make sure the plaster goes right down into the indexing. A lot of people have made that mistake, and then of course it falls off on you and you have to do it all over again. So take your time. Make sure the plaster is mixed very heavy. You don't want it dripping anywhere. The neater you are now, the easier it's going to be for you later. Let's build it up. Put most of the plaster in the center. And then we're slowly going to close the top, squeeze out the excess. It's only about an inch of plaster between each one. So let's bring it down slowly. And I like to just sort of slowly wiggle it into place. With one hand, hold the pin, the maxillary portion down so that the pin is touching the table. Any voids that you have, you can fill it in. This is actually the easier part. If you did the lower part correctly, this should not be a problem at all. Don't overdo it. If you have too much, just slowly take it off. Make sure you mix the plaster again. I keep saying extremely heavy. Mix it almost like clay, that you can turn the bowl upside down. I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes, but let's make sure I have enough in here. And I can clean it up in a minute. So this is looking okay so far. I don't want it to sag, so let's leave this alone. Now, while this is setting up, I took the time to do the other two articulations. And if you notice how clean they are, the only way you can get like this, I use cold water. I ran over my finger over it, but then after about 20 minutes, I took a sanding block. So bring the sanding block over to the sink. A little bit of cold water. Take the sanding block, hold it underneath, and very lightly go over it. But first you have to make sure you get rid of all the excess. You do that with a Murphy knife. But at this point, if I just spend a minute or two, cold water, if you notice I'm holding it down so the sticky wax doesn't pop off. If it does, you have to dry the model, re-sticky wax it, put it back on. So now you can see how nice that looks. And the articulation, it's all presenting, you know. Again, I keep saying it's curb appeal. If you present something this well, the restoration, you just feel good about it. If it's sloppy, if it's a mess, if there's plaster and wax all over the place, I don't care how good it is, it just doesn't work well. So coming back to the articulation I just did, I'll just give it a couple of minutes to sit. After it stiffens, I can take some water with my finger. I'll run my finger, but I'll always hold the top down so it doesn't pop open. Wet finger, I'll keep wiping it. I'll leave it for about 20 minutes. Then I can take this off, bring it over to the sink, get my plaster, my sandpaper, go back over it, smooth it off, I'm done. Once the articulations are finished, give them at least an hour to dry. When that's finished, the plaster's set up, but remember, plaster takes 24 hours to set completely, so it may be firm, but it's really not hard yet. So I'll leave it, then I can pop off the sticky wax. To get the sticky wax off, take the whole thing over to the sink, cold water, keep it under the cold water. The cold water will make the sticky wax very brittle, and then just with your fingernail, don't use an instrument, because if you use an instrument, you're going to damage your teeth. Just take your fingernail, and you can pop the sticky wax off. You're ready to go. The models are all set up. We're going to get all 3 articulations done at one time, and then the rest of the course we're waxing. Okay, so next video after this will be the first steps prior to starting the wax up. Okay, bye-bye for now.